is whether anyone in government acted improperly. What is Enron? Enron is, as you said, a giant energy trading firm based in Houston that filed for bankruptcy last month. Down the drain went some $60 billion in stockholder investments and employee savings plans, while a few executives at the top sold their shares for a killing. As well, Enron's auditor, the Arthur Andersen accounting firm, admits company documents were destroyed. In the good old days, Enron contributed lavishly to candidates from both parties and to George W. Bush. In recent days, a number of administration officials at the cabinet and sub-cabinet level have disclosed they were lobbied for help by Enron executives and even by a former Clinton cabinet member. But appearing on Fox News Sunday this morning, Treasury Secretary Paul O'Neill, one of those lobbied, denied any wrongdoing.
I didn't think there was anything inappropriate about someone calling me to give me a heads up that there were some technical things that we ought to pay attention to. I don't find that inappropriate. It seems to me it's exactly the right discharge of my duties to make sure that the public's not going to be hurt by some individual company action.
Such explanations by the president's men are falling flat with some Senate Democrats. One lawmaker says he's troubled by an appearance of impropriety in the easy access Enron enjoyed to top-level members of the Bush administration.
That's what we've got to put an end to stop these kind of appearances of impropriety that are created and the sale of access. I have no doubt that Enron had greater access because of huge campaign contributions.
Finally, Rita, Time magazine reports today that an internal memorandum distributed at Arthur Andersen ordered employees to destroy all audit materials relating to Enron except the most basic working papers, just 4 days before Enron announced losses of $618 million in last year's third quarter. Senator Joseph Lieberman, who is leading one of 6 congressional investigations into Enron, says that if that report is true, Arthur Andersen, one of the most respected accounting firms in the nation, could face criminal indictment and its own complete collapse. Rita?
Could be a lot of trouble for them. James, you're pointing out, you're talking about the politics of it all. Is this going to, the sense in Washington it's going to be a political scandal, a financial scandal, or a combination of both?
It is already a financial scandal, Rita. The question is whether it's going to sort of metastasize into a political scandal. Some Democrats would like to see it become one, but that poses a danger for the Democratic Party as well because most members of Congress have received contributions from Enron, both Democrats and Republicans. It would be a liability for Democrats as well as Republicans in this case. As well as yet, there is nothing to point to on the part of Democrats that the Bush administration did to help Enron. So right now, this is a financial scandal. It's a tragedy for those employees who lost their pensions and so forth. Whether or not it's going to be an issue in November of 2002 politically remains to be seen, but doubtful at this point, I would say. Rita?
And James, at this point, it also sort of seems that, according to what we're hearing from Democrats, it's sort of damned if you do, damned if you don't for the administration, because they're coming under criticism if whether they had intervened. Obviously, some of them received the phone calls, those 2 cabinet secretaries, and some people are saying, did you intervene? And then on the flip side, now we're hearing even some criticism on the other end. Maybe they should have intervened to save some of these employees who, as you point out, lost their life savings.
That's right. Some opportunists are going to try and make hay with whatever they can, and they're making the point that, well, if you did nothing to help Enron, why didn't you help the stockholders, etc.? What the administration officials point out is that they didn't know anything more than what the public knew about Enron struggling in the financial realm. And they say that, you know, if they would have helped these people, it would have been improper. At that point, when these calls were made to some of these administration officials, thousands had already been lost by a number of employees. We'll see how this plays out. You know how these investigations go, Rita. They get built from the ground up. So right now, they're subpoenaing documents from Enron and from Arthur Andersen. Then they're going to go to the company executives at Arthur Andersen and at Enron, and then perhaps, if there's any reason to do so, they're going to go to the politicians and then to the government officials in the cabinet of the Bush administration. Rita?
All right, James, as you point out, this is just the beginning of a long process. Thanks so much, James. We appreciate it, as always.
Sure.
Thanks. And now for the latest developments in the war on terror, let's go to Carol Iavana, who is standing by live at the Vox News desk with all the great details. And I see you got the purple memo, Carol.
Yeah, I guess we did. Hello, Rita.
Hi.
And hello to all of you. Here are the latest developments at this hour. Another 30 al-Qaeda and Taliban detainees are in the air on their way to the U.S. base in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. They will be joining the 20 men who arrived at the base on Friday. And Fox News has learned that new material gathered by Special Ops in Afghanistan is very detailed and informative about the worldwide operations of al-Qaeda. Among the items found, detailed maps and models of the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and the White House. Afghanistan's new Chief Justice taking a stand on terror. 70-year-old Fazl Shinwari promised the death sentence to either Taliban leader Mullah Muhammad Omar or Osama bin Laden if they're brought to court in Afghanistan. And a major security crackdown in northern India. This after guerrillas opened fire on civilians shopping at an open market, killing 12 and injuring 13. The attack took place one day after Pakistani President Musharraf promised to stop allowing his country to be a base for terror attacks. I'll have another update for you in about 30 minutes. Now back to Rita Cosby. Rita?
All right, thanks a lot, Carol. And now let's take you to where all the action is. U.S. bombs falling again in Afghanistan. Their target, al-Qaeda forces in the eastern part of the country. For the latest from the region, we turn now to Fox News correspondent Steve Santani, who is live in Kabul. Steve, what's happening there?
Hi, Rita. Yes, these bombing raids have been going on for the past week or so. The U.S. very intent on getting those al-Qaeda fighters who have gathered there in the eastern mountains of Afghanistan and may have tried to regroup after the massive bombing raids on the Tora Bora area. And so there have been jet fighter strikes for the past week or so, some more today in that area of caves and tunnels near coast in eastern Afghanistan. Meantime, Afghanistan's interim leader, Hamid Karzai, said today some al-Qaeda fighters have been arrested in Iran, indicating at least a partial cooperation by Iran with the U.S. effort to wipe out terrorism worldwide. In an interview with Fox News, Karzai also said no dollar figure has yet been placed on what it would cost to rebuild Afghanistan, even though one Afghan government official did say today it would take about $45 billion over the next 10 years. And Karzai said he would support the U.S. if it brought the war on terrorism to some other country, including Iraq.
We will fight terrorism in Afghanistan. We will finish it completely in Afghanistan, and we will continue to help the international community to fight terrorism wherever it may be. So I'm for it. I'm part of the fight against terrorism wherever we suspect it is. We should go after it.
Karzai also said today Islamic law will be upheld in Afghanistan. His comments came after Afghanistan's Chief Justice said that punishments like cutting off the hand of a thief or stoning an adulterer would continue. He also said that if Osama bin Laden or Mullah Omar are caught, they'll be dealt with in the harshest possible way.
If the Afghan government has proof of their crimes, and according to Islamic law these were crimes, and if the Islamic world says these are crimes, then the punishment for these crimes should be execution. Under Islamic law, the Taliban and al-Qaeda people are held responsible for the disorder on the ground, so according to Islamic law, they should face the death penalty.
In Kandahar, 30 more al-Qaeda and Taliban prisoners left today for the U.S. base at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. The prisoners were shackled with white caps over their faces and each escorted by 2 U.S. troops as they boarded the giant C-17 cargo planes for that long flight to Cuba. Lights at the airport were shut off except for low-intensity lights and green chemical lighting. And finally, the bodies of 5 of those crew members who were killed in a KC-130 aerial refueling tanker crash in Pakistan are on their way back to the U.S. They're expected to arrive at Dover Air Force Base sometime late Sunday or early Monday morning. Live in Kabul, Afghanistan, I'm Steve Santani. Read it back to you.
All right, Steve, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And the war on terror doesn't end with the search for Osama bin Laden. We're talking to a top military analyst about tracking terrorist cells around the world. Then startling new details emerging about the al-Qaeda network in Germany and the devastating plans that that group was making. I'll have an exclusive interview straight ahead with some interesting details never heard before of how the ringleader of the hijackers came to Germany. Cells are believed to be spread out all over the world. Just a couple days ago, more than a dozen people with suspected links to al-Qaeda were detained in Singapore. How did investigators smoke them out? Joining us with more on that and the other military moves in the war on terror, Major General Paul Vallely, Fox News military analyst. General, always great to have you with us. How are you doing?
Thank you, Rita. Hello, how are you? Glad to be with you again.
Thanks so much. We just heard from Steve Santani about the bombing raids continuing in Kabul with the anticipation that possibly some of these al-Qaeda members are regrouping. Is that a realistic concern at this point?
Well, it is realistic and it's very valid. It is happening. We've torn apart al-Qaeda and the Taliban in the country, and now they're in small groups out there with a sniper ability to blow up certain targets. So we have to be very proactive, search and destroy, and clean up the rest of the battlefield.
One of the other things we talked about was uncovering that plot attack against U.S. Navy ships in Singapore and also U.S. facilities there. Do you think we're going to discover more information in these caves and also al-Qaeda homes that could lead us to possibly hampering other plots in the future?
Well, the information I'm receiving, Rita, there is a tremendous amount of intelligence data that's been retrieved, not only from hard drives in the computers, but maps, written emails, that type of thing that indicates that there are a lot of plans out there for further terrorist activities. That is why we cannot afford to lose the momentum here, and we've got to stay ahead of these terrorists worldwide.
Now, you bring up a point about some of the emails and maps that you hear about. Are these also plots that are outside Afghanistan and other countries, and where are you talking about?
Well, they are. Obviously, the cells we took down in Singapore, as well as Kuala Lumpur. We've got Abu Sayyaf in the Philippines, where we have a lot of intelligence data that we're gathering now. We have special forces on the ground there. We have cells, of course, in Somalia, northern Yemen, and, of course, the big cheese, Saddam Hussein, who I think is the biggest terrorist in the world, in Iraq. And we still have Iran, I think, engaged in a lot of activities in supporting terrorism in the Middle East area.
Indeed, we just heard from Hamad Karzai, who's the interim leader there in Afghanistan, an exclusive interview with Fox, saying that some al-Qaeda members were arrested in Iran. So there seems to be some ties that we're apparently seeing that we heard about, but now substantiating it.
Well, that's true, and if in fact Iran was responsible for shipping the arms and ammunition that the Israelis the ship that the Israelis boarded last week, then they certainly are involved up to their necks.
There's also, you talked about some of the emails and things that you're hearing about. Some things have been coming out in the press today, and some really startling information that's been found, particularly in and near Kabul. Some booklets, there's a booklet offering advice on how to survive a nuclear explosion. Also at an agricultural ministry laboratory, I thought this was really astounding, outside Kabul, a container allegedly containing concentrated anthrax spores was found. What do you make of all these discoveries? And that, I thought that was particularly interesting with the anthrax connection.
Well, very interesting, because that's what they've been planning. And when you look at the state-sponsored terrorism, the states that can provide the fertile ground for that, of course, Iraq is #1 on the radar screen there. And they have the capability, and they are developing these weapons of mass destruction. Iran has taken advantage of some of the Russian immigrants in the nuclear area as far as building very sophisticated missiles at this time. So we have a lot of concern for these major countries. Some of them are minor, such as Somalia and Yemen, but whatever the campaign plans are that we're putting together now, they must continue the momentum to take out the international terrorist cells in the states that sponsor them.
You talk about Somalia, General, and there have been some reports, particularly in the last 24 hours, that bin Laden may be in Somalia. Of course, we're hearing reports of him all over the world, yes. It seems. What do you make of the credibility that he could possibly be there?
Well, if he got there, he probably had to go by slow boat to Somalia.
Which is a long boat ride, huh?
Long boat ride, yes. My guess he's still in Peshawar in Pakistan. That would be my best guess, but who knows? Again, we can't get fixated on bin Laden and Mullah Omar. They're going to be policed up here sooner or later, validated as dead. But we've got to clean the rest of the battlefield up in Afghanistan and move on here in a very quick and decisive manner, so that these terrorists cannot launch any major attacks against any countries in the free world, and even within the world of the Middle East there. Very important that they take on their responsibilities now to assist in rubbing out terrorists.
No, it's a very tenuous situation. Thank you very much. I know we're going to be talking with you a lot in the coming days. General Valley, thank you so much.
Thank you, Rita.
All right, it was good to see you.
Thanks.
And earlier today, I did an exclusive interview about the making of a terrorist. Mohammed Atta, the leader of the 9/11 hijackers, what turned him into becoming a monster? An investigative journalist fills in the blanks for Fox News. And seems that the vice president's daughter likes playing politics. Liz Cheney takes up the family business. Her plans are straight ahead.